It's again another Sunday, and Pragati and I are back with a fresh new topic. So, see, a lot of people know us and have been interacting with us. Some of you must be new to us, and we'll just do a quick introduction of ourselves, and then we'll move on to the topic of the day. I'm Devlina. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm the founder of Cornash, the Lifestyle Management School. And I have along with me Pragati Sureka, my friend and my colleague. She's also a clinical psychologist, and Pragati has written a book, and she's about to write another one. And today, Pragati and I plan to talk about what talk therapy is all about. Why should we pay attention to talk therapy, and why talk therapy is important and not just something that everyone can do. And how, before we begin today's topic, we will start with what's a friendly chit chat or advice. Pragati, you want to throw light on what is a friendly chit chat and advice and how it is different from talk therapy?
Yes, Devlina. Thank you for coming on my page today. And this is a very pertinent topic that we will talk about today, because a lot of times people say that, if you don't like something, just talk about it. Talk to a friend, talk to a relative, and people stigmatize. They do feel that if they have something that is bothering them, they can just sound it out with a friend or a family member. But as most of us know, when we talk to people who are close to us, they listen, but they hear rather. They listen, but are they really listening becomes questionable. Because either they try to distract us, they tell us that go for a movie, or if you're feeling sad, just go for a movie. Just go shop, why are you feeling like that? Be positive, be happy. And that becomes very toxic. It becomes something that makes us feel very bad about ourselves. There are some of us who have well-wishers who read books. And they also sometimes tell us that read this book, do some meditation. But unfortunately, however good the intention is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So what really helps when you're not feeling well is when you seek help from a therapist. Will you tell us a little bit about how therapy helps and how is it different from talking to a friend or a loved one?
See, for me, I have spoken about my troubles to a friend and a loved one, and I've spoken to my therapist also. So I'll tell you from my own personal experience how different it was. With all good intentions, a lot of times, friends and family, they have your interest in mind, and they are also convinced that you are suffering because of someone else. So especially if you're talking about your problems with someone, you'll see invariably they, after a point, they may once in a while try and tell you that maybe you have gone wrong here and there, but they will, by and large, what they do is they side up with you. Oh, you poor thing, this has happened to you. So, you should say this or you should do that. And that can be detrimental. That can be detrimental because be it a friend or a family or sometimes untrained helpers, they don't know what exactly they are looking for while giving a solution. So they often say things which just maybe to pacify you for the time being, because they don't know where they are heading with it, with your problem. Once you share your problem, they don't know where you are headed with it and how they can help actually resolve that problem. Whereas if you go to a trained therapist, what we call in common terms talk therapy or psychotherapy, people have specific approaches, specific methods. It's a very step-by-step approach which people go through. You talk about your problem and they put it in a step-by-step format. It's like you go one step to another. and eventually you decide. You are the deciding factor for how you want to resolve your problems. So I think,
Very
Pragati,
nice one.
before we move on, can you talk to people about this concept of helping professionals?
I think what is really important, like if you have fever, you may ask your friends and relatives initially that what will work. Maybe some kadha, maybe some kind of other alternative healing they advise you. But what do? You go to a general practitioner, you check with your GP to understand what kind of medication and what dosage has to be there. There used to be a time when people would say, just have 500 mg of your favorite paracetamol. But now people have realized that no, the doctor actually calculates the right dosage. Sometimes it's 650 mg, for a younger child it's much lesser. In the same way, a trained therapist knows that when somebody is talking, what exactly is important at that point. How is that person experiencing his issue? Is he very overwhelmed by it? Is he just mildly uncomfortable? Or his entire life feels like it's gone in shambles? So at that point, if somebody tells him that no, it's okay, don't feel like that, that is literally like a slap on the face. It's like something which makes the person feel rejected. Now, many people who are not trained as therapists, usually a therapist undergoes at least 8 years of solid academic training or works under supervision. There are diplomas, people who even do diplomas, it's highly recommended that after doing the diploma, you at least have a master's in the subject, and even after the master's for 5 years, you work under supervision, under a licensed practitioner.
It's a subject, it's a brand new subject, it's a profession. Yes. So you can't really be, you can't call yourself a therapist after doing a certificate program. Yes. You and I have both done certificate programs while we were doing our undergrads or postgrads. So, but that does not qualify you to become a therapist. We must understand. Like a lot of people, I keep telling this to a lot of people whom I address, that you may have a knack to prescribe medicines. People at home, there are like each one has one person in the household, you will see, who has this medical eye. Like you sometimes just know that this medicine will work for that person, but you don't become a doctor. You can't call yourself that I am a doctor from today. So similarly, I think for therapists, it's very important to understand that you need to have a certain amount of training, and without it, don't just go on to wrong advices, because it is just, I think, somewhere creating a lot of misconception in people's head.
Also, one more important thing is, what people feel is, I won't take the name, I still remember in my first year of diploma program, when I had walked in more than 15 years back, you had told me that, Pragati, if you're interested in the subject, go on to do your masters, take on the license and work under supervision. So today that is there. And at the same time, parallelly, with an alternate healing institution, they gave me a certificate in psychotherapy in exactly 2 days of training. And I wondered that in 2 days, can you actually get a certificate to be a psychotherapist? As anyone who really practices knows, the human mind is something which even now experts say that we barely know enough. We are just scratching the tip of the iceberg. So is it fair that with just 2 days of training, people feel that you become an expert to dish out advice?
Yeah, say, again, as practicing professionals, I'm sure something that you've also observed, that it's not about 2 days, 6 months, 1 year. This whole thing of practicing therapy, this morning only, in fact, you and I were talking about this whole concept of studying as part of our profession. When we are studying, when we all allocate a certain number of hours to studying every day, that is also part of our work.
Absolutely.
Our work is just not to do sessions with people individually or in groups. Our work is also regularly putting in a couple of hours of studying, like probably we would when we were absolutely just students. So yes. Pragati, tell me something about...
when I do psychotherapy...
Sorry,
yeah,
please
so I was telling you, when I do... Yes, psychometric testing with children who want to study psychology. The first question I ask them, are you fond of reading? Because you are looking at 3-4 hours of reading for your entire life and loving it. If you do not love it, please rethink your interest in the subject, because you may become a professional, but you may not become an effective professional, or you'll be someone who will just be giving advice and not helping.
Mm. There are a lot of people I come across when I train people to become counselors. I see a lot of people who have the natural capability or the natural aptitude, flair for it. But what happens if you don't keep on reading, keep on practicing, keep on implementing what you're reading on a regular basis? That flair does not take you too far. There is a time when you stagnate, when you realize that you probably are cut out for it, but you don't have the knowledge back up for it with it. So then it becomes a little less effective. Pragati, what I wanted to ask you today is about what do you think of judgments? We all believe that human beings should have the capability to judge a person, judge a situation. A lot of people say that such people make better helping professionals. But what is your take to it?
Perhaps that has been the experience of some people, but I know every time I have been judged, I don't want to listen to that person, and I definitely do not want to seek help from the person. What really helps me is when somebody is non-judgmental and really hears me out, does not question what I'm feeling, that if I'm sad about something, wants to explore it further with me and actually wants to stay with the experience. And then I feel that courage. I feel that that person has empathized with me. So judgment definitely does not work for me. Rather, when there's an atmosphere of empathy, where I feel the person gets what I'm going through, I then feel courageous enough to work at it. Okay, I'm feeling sad about it, but what will my sadness make me do? Will it make me wallow in self-pity? Will it make me overeat? Will it make me sleep throughout the day? Or will it make me binge on TV? And then I realized that it's okay, it's just passing through. Like clouds, in monsoon, it's passed through, it's no big deal. I'm feeling lighter. I've spoken to someone who's understood me. That in itself makes me come into a zone where I know what I need to do to deal with my feeling of sadness or anything which I don't want to feel at that point. How do you feel when somebody is judgmental?
Say, you know better that, we spend, I think, almost the first quarter when we are training people, quarter of the year, basically trying to get rid of this whole judgment business, so that people start becoming a lot less judgmental of themselves and of the other. So that becomes a very essential part of the training. Now, so that's again something that one needs to work on. And if one doesn't work on for a consistent period of time, one slips back into old ways of being. So what happens is when we judge, when do we judge? When do we judge? Because we don't know. Tell me. Go ahead, please.
We judge when we are not very confident of the other being able to manage their life. Or we feel that, we know best. How do we know best? In my body, I know what is best. In your body, you know what is best. Perhaps you need a friendly ear or someone to help you out. But that does not mean I know someone's problem better than them. They know their problems best and they know what solution will make them feel happier.
Another aspect I want to talk about is a lot of times in therapy, have you come across people who listen? The therapeutic listener is listening to an individual. After a point, does not know where to take this individual client to, and so as a result starts blaming either the family or some friend or a partner or someone else whom this person was talking about.
See, that is also a pertinent point. Also, I think we in India and other undeveloped countries are slightly shaky about the concept of therapy because we do not know where therapy can actually benefit us. Will you tell us how is therapy different in the underdeveloped countries vis-a-vis in the developed world? Why are they so receptive to therapy?
First and foremost, because insurance here does not cover it. I always say this. The day insurance starts covering it, probably there'll be a greater acceptability.
Yes.
But just having said that, we also must realize that a lot of times for our organic diseases, when we seek help, we don't get insurance coverages. But so what happens is we have these, but we still need to go. We need to show our, ourselves. So we do land up going, and for other help also. Say sometimes legal help, sometimes some other assistance. We seek help. So just give me a moment, Pragati. Just give me a moment.
Yes, yes. So, adding on to the point which you were saying, what happens is in the developed world, people go for therapy because they see actual benefits. One is that the state gives money to them, vis-a-vis insurance is covered, so they are very comfortable. Also, the changes which come in, they see that their work performance has become better, they see that their relationships are improving, and most importantly, how they feel about themselves, that is something which really gets resolved. Like, for example, if you are on the right track, what happens is you know where it's going to lead you. If someone else tells you, you sometimes feel that perhaps it will work for me or it may not work for me. You're always in a slight state of hesitancy. Go back to a situation where you feel that you did something because somebody asked you to do. It could be your parent, it could be a friend, or it could just be something that you did because others were there to kind of guide you, or people said that they needed to do it. It never works. We all feel better when we can pay attention to what's really going on in our own mind, and we make decisions with the choices which feel good to us. So, will you tell us about what exactly is talk therapy? Like what we talk about, like when people say that talk therapy helps.
Talk therapy basically is nothing but psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is nothing but a combination of couple of approaches in psychology. So I won't go into the details. Of late, I've become a little mindful about not naming the approaches. But yes, it's a combination of approaches that is used in psychology. That is psychotherapy, or commonly known as talk therapy. Now, the reason why it works in the West and it doesn't work so much here, or in underdeveloped countries, people are a little weary, is like I was talking about it, that there's always that cost factor. People think it's expensive, but expensive to what extent is something that we need to think about. A lot of times it's probably, if we think in terms of the long-term effect, psychotherapy, so a lot of times, I was just talking to you about that research this morning, Pragati, about people who seek therapy or people who are undergoing therapy. There's this research which says they are doing much better in their jobs or their businesses, their work, and their earnings go up. So I was a little shocked. I said, what the hell is happening here? So then I read the article a little more, and then I came to know that why are they talking about it? It's a very systematic thing. So when people seek therapy, they're automatically going through some turmoil, some emotional turmoil, some intellectual turmoil, some psychological turmoil, some sort of turmoil. Now that occupies so much of the brain space that they are not able to be very productive at work. The moment they are going, they go to therapy, they go with a lot of apprehensions whether it will work or not, even there. But once they start reaping the benefit of it, then they start realizing that automatically a lot of things are clearing out. The doubts and the primary problem with which people go automatically starts becoming better. They start deciding better. They start making better choices. Their relationships improve. A lot of times psychotherapy has been proven to see that a lot of our organic health issues also get better when you are undergoing therapy.
Yes.
and you and I both know about it. We have seen enough people
Right.
get lot of organic diseases naturally cured also. So what happens? There is a lot of mind space to decide on what work you want to do, and whether, and also by then that confidence to go and chase it.
Very true. It's like your mind space gets free. Rather than having something going on like a buzz in your head, or some niggling problem which just doesn't leave you. Whether you are in the movie, whether you are at work, whether you are in a social gathering, something which is like a weight on your shoulders, that gets lifted away with good psychotherapy. Where someone is just there and to listen to you, not judge you, and just makes you feel as though, yes, there is light at the end of the road the way you want to see it. There is no guidance. A lot of times in the name of therapy, people believe that a lot of guidance has to be given.
Yeah, this is another myth I think we should break today. The therapy, psychotherapy or talk therapy does not give you these clear-cut guidances about what you should do and what you shouldn't do. That is again something that a lot of people who are not trained are doing these days. So it
In
becomes a
fact,
very easy thing. Like, we don't play the role of mummies and daddies. We basically help you to decide better for yourself. We help you to reach a state of mind, such a healthy state of mind that you become the decision bearers. We teach you how to fish rather than to give you the fish.
I have to share here, in all the years that we've been training people and to apply basic skills of counseling, or rather providing a foundation to counseling, there's a group of healers that I've worked with. It was a pleasant surprise for me. They underwent the training for a year, as you know, and each one of them shared that initially, moment someone came with depression or spoke about a family quarrel or something that they were struggling with, they would just give advice. And as they started training with us, they started saying that, now we listen and people are actually getting better and we feel so much happier. So it's really nice to see a group of professionals who are in a related field, undergoing the training, and that rigmarole of a 1 year long course, studying for it, it helps. So that's when, and they said that the best thing that we learned is don't give advice, just listen. And somebody in the 70s also gets benefited, somebody in the teenage years is also getting benefited. So that was really, really nice, absolute life feedback that we got.
Yes, that's a whole progressive lot of healers we've had in the past year.
Yes, true. And what are the benefits of talk therapy? If you could tell us some basic benefits that you feel that come.
See, the first benefit of psychotherapy, I would say, is it's a long-term help. When someone is persistently going through some issue which they are not able to resolve, say by talking to friends and family, by trying things on their own, and ultimately they realize that it's a blockage in the head. It's some block that they are facing in the head, and once they actually go through proper approach, proper systematic psychotherapy, what happens is they what should I say, the entanglement or the enmeshment that gets detangled, that stays for a very long time. I've always seen the effect of healing or effects of recovery through psychotherapy is a long-term one. So that's I think one of the core benefits. The other benefit I would say is something again that I've seen while practicing it, is a lot of organic diseases naturally get cured. All these aches and pains. You work there, that's your zone. So you would know better how.
Yes, absolutely. After a week, can I go to the pain? True.
Yeah, you should actually tell people about your experience at the pain clinic.
I work with a government hospital and where people come to seek help for pain. sometimes they have even, there are all kinds of people come, from the people in high level management posts to people who are probably level 4 wage earners. Sometimes they have dropped a bag while working or been hurt by a machine. But the interesting thing is, people who actually have chronic pain, as when I've spoken to them, there has always been some incident which has triggered off the pain. Either there has been some kind of discord in the family, either the health of a loved one or a parent was suffering, or there was a loss of parent. So, when they make that association, that chronic medication that they sought, it comes down. And that is something which is very pertinent. Chronic pain means there is something in the mind which is niggling and troubling, something which is just not being addressed.
The last benefit that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about it with full conviction, something that I've seen over the years, is people who come with either passive or aggressive behavior problems. We have both kinds, and we have people who have, who oscillate from passive aggressive behaviors. That I've seen, psychotherapy works wonders for them. We've had people who have recovered fantastically from their passive aggressive behavior issues, and we've had families thanking them and us for it. So I think that's a major benefit of psychotherapy. So should we wind it up today?
And one more, absolutely, one last one I want to add is, it literally reprograms your brain. Where early on any kind of change which felt threatening, now it's something, oh, it's no big deal, I'll cope up, I'll flow. You learn how to flow like a stream. In spite of niggling stones in the middle or some challenges, you find your path. I think that is one huge benefit of psychotherapy or talk therapy.
Yes, so, and it's not a quick fix.
Thank you everyone for joining us today on the first.
Thank you.
And thank you, Devika, for taking time out. This is really
thank you for having me over.
Informative.
Thank you.
And this is something I hope all our viewers have got something to think about. If you have any further questions, please type them in the comments box and we'll definitely get back to you. So have a great Sunday, and we will meet you again next Sunday. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.